I'm Chris.
I'm Buddy.
And I'm Kara, and welcome to the Business Experience.
Now it's time to meet your hosts. Dr. Chris Alexander has founded over 5 businesses. Kara Turner is the founder of a B2B marketing agency. And Buddy Powers has perfected the product development and commercialization process. Let's get into the episode.
Today we are talking about being intentional about networking. I think everyone knows the importance of networking, but they're not necessarily intentional about it. It just kind of happens when they're at a networking type event. Mm-hmm. But I learned that 85% of positions are filled through networking, which that's really not surprising to me. You fill almost all your positions through networking.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's tried and true.
This one was interesting to me. 38% of professionals find it difficult to maintain their business relationships. I think that might have to do with COVID and things going more virtual.
Yep.
But 95% of professionals consider face-to-face communication vital for long-term business.
Yep.
So I would definitely agree with that. Chris, tell us about your experience with networking. I feel like we're like 3 pretty good networkers right here. So
it's kind of built into our DNA.
Yes, we might talk more about this than marketing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, networking, some of it depends, and we always kind of put people in camps of an introvert or an extrovert, okay? Mm-hmm. And so, my natural bent is I kind of like to be by myself and those things, but I really like people. And so I had, sometimes I'll talk about Fred Wilson. So Fred loved people. He was a really good networker. But one of the things I learned in watching him is a really good networker isn't just building their network for themselves. They're doing it for other people, right? Mm-hmm. So in other words, if I know that you've got a marketing company and I have a friend of mine, we're playing golf together, and he's like, I'm really struggling. I'm like, well, give Kara a call, right? Mm-hmm. Or I've got a friend who builds houses. And like we talked on the phone yesterday, Ted Cummins, as a matter of fact, he built our house, which we're in right now, is if somebody's looking to build a house, I'll connect them with Ted. Yeah. And so what's kind of happened as I've gotten older is if you remember, you have to remember people's names. That's really important. You have to remember what they do, which means you have to ask questions. Is after a while you begin to get a reputation. And I have a couple of friends, they just call me. They're like, look, Chris, I know you don't do anything in this space, but you know a lot of people. Who do you recommend I call? So, but it takes time. It's kind of like math. It's like an area under a curve. I mean, the first couple of years of your career, you don't really establish it, but if you've been doing it for 10 or 15 years, like we have been, you build a really strong network. And then at that point, it's almost easier to build business, but absent that, businesses just can't take off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I value my network to the point where I think it's one of the attributes of my existence.
It's
with
part of your
company.
DNA,
yes,
right?
And it's not that I don't take them for granted as if they're my money source. It's not. It's more along the lines of I've grown up in this industry with this group of people, and when I show up, the best thing they can ever say is, "I'm glad you came." You always bring something valuable, which has happened to me on a number of occasions where, my network, when they see me coming or calling, I want them to think, okay, this is either something that's important or we need to take a look at this. So in being intentional about your purpose, doing research, don't just show up to talk about the game and the baseball and guess what I heard about, this person or that person. I see that a lot in our industry. Yeah. It's really, as we look at our network, we're only as good as how much effort we put into it in terms of sales and business development. But if you're going to the conferences, reading the papers, and Chris knows that I'm very plugged into things that I don't really need to be plugged into, just so that I can have the credibility when I talk to people, I know what I'm talking about. So, and that is valuable to my network. So if there's one thing I would say is really prepare and be intentional with your development.
That's really good. I had never thought of it that way, and I think that just goes to show that I'm not great about being intentional with networking. It's like to really prepare for networking, because when I think of networking, I'm just like, oh, you're going to a conference, you're going to meet people, hand out business cards, but that's not how you want to do it. Like, really prepare. I've seen y'all will research who's going to be there. Y'all talk about what companies are there, who y'all want to potentially talk to, what do you want to talk to them about, and I think that's a really great plan.
So it's kind of strategic networking, right?
Yeah.
It's a good term. I like that.
Very, very good. Well, I know you have a book.
I do. Of course I've got a book. So this is an oldie but goodie. Matter of fact, I was showing my daughter this book if you're watching it, you see these are all the printings. So the first printing.
Oh,
so
wow.
this is Zig
Wow.
Ziglar. See you at the top. Did you listen to Zig Ziglar
yeah, for
cassettes?
sure.
Yeah. So if you're in sales and you've been in sales and you're probably 40 years or older, you've listened to Zig Ziglar cassette tapes. And so he was kind of this, internationally recognized sales guy. And so he wrote this book, and he's just a great guy. He's from Mississippi, and had a good old Southern accent. So anyway, one of the things I really like, I was looking at this last night, is his opening. I believe you'll get everything in life you want if you help enough people get what they want. And to me, that's the power of a network, right? If you're meeting people and you're helping other people be successful, which is the whole premise of the book, See You at the Top, is I'm not going to get at the top and look down, is we're going to work really to get up to the top. So I think, like I lectured at A&M yesterday, and I was talking about the power of the network. Everybody needs a good network, and especially in sales, but even at some point if you're looking for a job, the network is what allows you to really change your life and do the things that you want to do.
Yes. I was renewing my license at the DMV the other day, and this guy sat down next to me, and I was talking to him. He had just moved here, and he was a welder, and I was like, so I gave him my card, and I was like, send me an email. I know lots of people who hire welders.
Yep. That's exactly
And
right.
let's see if I can help you find something. So it's funny. I guess I am intentional, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know that was intentional. I had to get my license renewed. Never mind. Take that back.
Well, you could have not paid attention to it. So.
All right. So what is one practical steps that our listeners can implement to be more intentional about networking?
Well, I think overall, when you're trying to step out and build your network, you need to find mentors, because mentors breed instant networking. And mentoring, we've talked about it in previous podcasts, but, the recipient needs to have an open heart for that, because, there's a lot of people that want to mentor, don't know how to mentor, or just want to connect with you because you're younger and they want to give back to the industry. And so that's one step that I've taken. And I felt like early in my career, there were people that came into my mentoring role for me that really stepped up my networking, and I was able to capture that. So that would be one that I would think of.
Yeah, that's good.
So I've got a little different bent. It's still on the same line. Is if you're focused on helping other people, which is kind of the premise of this book, it's amazing what you can accomplish. But I will admit, I'm not sure how both you were, but early in my career I was focused on me, right? So what can I get out of it? And then after a while, you realize it's kind of hollow, even if you are successful. So I think as I've gotten older, it's like I'm really far more focused. And like even at ADV, when we hire people, I'm like, look, my goal, I've had a great career, right? I mean, it's not like I'm going to die next week or something. But my goal is I want to help you have the kind of career that I've had.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun. And so as everybody's successful, if you're a person who's focused on helping other people, indirectly, you rise along with their success.
Yeah.
So I would say be intentional and being a servant and really trying to do what you can to help people.
So you're intentionally building your younger part of your network, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great.
Yeah, and you're building your network to help other people, not just to help you.
Yes, exactly.
And to me, that's the ultimate network. When your network is so good that you're connecting people and you don't get anything out of it other than the satisfaction that you've connected to people.
That's where it's at.
When I first met you, you said, my job is to help you be successful. I've been successful. It's my job. So
It's apparently working, huh?
So one practical step I think listeners can do, and this is very practical, whatever industry you're in, look up conferences, put them on your calendar and go to them.
Yep.
So
force yourself, even if you're
Yes.
an introvert, just walk in there, have business cards, shake people's hand, and it's only awkward for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah.
After your first or second person, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your first or second podcast. You're fine after that. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to mention when it comes to networking?
Oh, I do. Absolutely. So one of the things that I have in my role is helping others expand their network, right? So if you have a practice or you have a niche that you're developing as a subject matter expert, I want to introduce you to members of my network that expand your network, right? And your connection to the industry, because you provide value to them, right? So as I'm looking at my role with my network in both at ADV Integrity, I'm trying to connect the right pieces, have the right meeting, have the right people in the room with the right preparation.
Yeah. When I think about kind of for all three of us is in many regards, the value we bring to industry, to our organizations is the level of networking that we have, right? And if you work really hard at it, I mean, it's like, we hired you and you and I have been friends, but one of the reasons I hired you, not just because you're a really great guy, but it's because of your network and the value that brings to an organization is huge. So, my encouragement, if you're listening to this, regardless of whether you're a salesperson or you're an engineer or you're, just a kid flipping burgers at a burger joint, is work at developing that network. And it's hard early on, but once you get it going and you see the value in it, you become more valuable as a function of time.
Yes, I agree very much. Well, that leads perfectly. You just did a perfect segue.
Thank you.
We like segues.
To our next podcast, because it is on developing a niche and then building on it. So I know you have tons to say about this.
Yeah, lots to say.
Yes.
We'll kind of sit back and let him take over.
Thank you for joining us. Follow and listen to us on whatever streaming platform you get your podcast, and we will see you next time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.